Witam serdecznie, kolejny odcinek serii Zaka74. Dzisiaj mamy gościa anglojęzycznego, w związku z tym część wywiadu będzie, właściwie całość będę przeprowadzał po angielsku. Ze mną jest Tim Dunn, człowiek odpowiedzialny za globalną strategię w Isobar. Did you have a chance to play with the newest iPad?
Yeah, I've had a go on it. It's kind of like the last one. So just the same way that the current iPhone is pretty much just like the last one, only with more pixels on it.
Yep.
So it's like, you know, as Apple, you know, how can you keep innovating at the kind of speed that they've done up until now? Whereas, you know, we're seeing the new products from Apple are kind of more point releases rather than whole new versions, and that's probably a challenge for them to stay ahead of the competition, to keep innovating that fast, which you know, right now, if you just have an iPad 2 like I do, you know, an iPad 3 it's good, it's brilliant, and iPad 3 is not significantly better than that. So, you know,
why spend money on something that's new?
Right, absolutely. So I'm waiting for iPhone 5, you know, because the next
iPhone 6.
Well, hopefully 5 will be this summer. So the next one, you know, to make it significantly better, it has to do something significantly new. And I think hopefully Apple are finally going to get around to putting, you know, NFC chips into iPhone 5. That's everybody's hope, and that will be a completely new innovation which will change the mobile market again.
Game changer. All right, you are a guy responsible for the mobile strategy. Why is such important for companies to have a mobile strategy right now?
Well, I mean, it's really important. I mean, firstly, you look at simply the change that we're seeing in the mobile landscape. So, you know, in Poland here, we have about 35% of people have smartphones. In the UK, you know, we're probably only about a year ahead of Poland in terms of the market development. We're on 55, and so I will expect to see this time next year, you know, this market having the majority of people with smartphones, right? And you know, from when you first got your first ever iPhone or Android or whatever, that as soon as you got it, your digital life changed completely on that day, you know. And so what's happening is that customers are changing very, very fast, but brands and corporations change very slowly. So, you know, you really have to have a, you know, a strategic approach to this platform, and you have to do it, you know, and companies have to do this pretty fast, because, you know, the gap between how customers behave digitally is growing, you know, and brands are slow to deal with this. So, you know, so the point of what we're doing at Isobar is to accelerate brands development in mobile, and to really put in a lot of thought around how that works. So, you know, it's pretty critical. Plus, you know, you think how you relate to your family and your friends and whatever, you know, you develop relationships around devices, and devices have a role within that relationship.
Exactly.
And the way that people relate to brands is actually very similar. So one of the purposes of what I was talking about at Taming the Chaos the other night was that we need to look at how we build our own personal relationships, how we use devices within that context, and try and take some of that thinking into how we integrate and how we develop our relationships with brands. Because it's like, you know, if you're on a first date with someone, right, you don't get out your CV and or try and buy a house together.
I'm good at this. You know, I want to have like 5 children with you, right?
Exactly, and you don't start buying a house together or propose marriage, right? And a brand is very much like that. You know, if you're trying to get an app on someone's phone for a brand that they've only just heard about and they don't have a relationship with, then that's probably the wrong thing to do.
That's a bumper.
Whereas what you need to do is, you know, as on a first date, you need to raise your profile. You need to big yourself up a little bit. You know, you need to look good before you can start having this deep relationship. And the thing about mobile, it's not just about having an app, right? You know, there are probably, you know, my team in London, we actually did this a few weeks ago. We counted up the different things you can do with mobile, and we got to about 50 or something, and then stop. You know, there's just too many things you can do, and they all sit at different points in this brand relationship. And so doing the right thing at the right time based on what your brand's trying to achieve and what the people think of you is really how to have a good strategic approach to the platform.
An app economy, is this a buzzword, a hype, or just, you know, the fact, right? Because there's lots of app in the App Store, in the Android markets, blah blah. So, from your point of view, is this a real economy? Can I make money off of it, or just just a hype?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. There are a bunch of people making lots of money. There are a bunch of brands using it really well to get
Apple,
their message across.
Google.
Yeah, well, Apple primarily. I mean, Apple make double the profit from mobile phones that all the other manufacturers make put together. It's pretty crazy. And just the content offering that the app economy represents is staggering. It has clearly changed the digital world, just like that. But it really is a great platform. People talk about HTML5 is going to kind of defeat the app, but not in the next 5 years.
Yep.
No, I mean HTML5. We do a lot of work in this space, and it's like the HTML5 standards are not complete, and you just can't generate that level of user experience. Plus, the app economy is just is a frictionless way of generating money, and so your game developers and content providers are going to be there forever.
Yes.
And they will sustain the fact that this app economy exists, and so brands will always be able to use it, and that's not going to change in the next 5 years probably.
All right. What about the future of Nokia and Microsoft? Because my first impression was when they announced that they're going together, that in the future, in the near future, the Microsoft will eat alive the Nokia. What's your thought about it?
It's a very difficult position. I mean, Apple has
tyranny of Apple.
Apple has destroyed the smartphone, the mobile market. They've kind of ripped it apart from where it was. I mean, I've worked in mobile for 12 years now. I've had Nokias, since 1998 or whatever, and everybody remembers their first Nokia, right? Beautiful devices,
exactly.
But
and then 2007, something magic happened.
I mean, it happened. So where they are now, I mean, Windows Phone is a pretty good operating system. Yeah, it's nice, it's slick. The Lumia devices are solid and attractive and stuff, but they have a very, very difficult, path ahead to be successful. Lumia hasn't taken off in the way that from the perspective that it had to, really. I think from just sheer customer uptake. Everyone says it's a great device, but
not buying.
the content is not there. People don't buy phones for the phone; they buy it for what it does for them.
Exactly.
And the content economy that lives within Apple and increasingly Android is powerful enough to make that purchase decision. So content has always been a big problem. So yeah, there's a difficult path ahead. Having committed to Microsoft, to Windows Phone instead of Android. They've put themselves in that position, and from a European perspective, all we Europeans want Nokia to do really well, and hopefully they will. But Apple and Google are pretty tough, competition.
Yes. Let's change the subject. Games and entertainment. The guys from Rovio, they produce Angry Birds. They changed the whole market. The application, the Angry Birds, has been downloaded like 500 million times. Do you think that this is a good direction to focus on games as a part of this app economy?
Yeah, I mean, it's massively strong. I mean, the whole kind of notion of gaming is kind of changing. So imagine, like, say 5 years ago, gaming was pretty much the preserve of young teenage boys sat in their bedrooms and stuff.
Geeks and nerds.
Yeah, so it's not just mobile. Mobile's the primary thing which has caused change, but also things like Nintendo Wii are causing casual gaming, and that's expanding it. Across older people, across women. It's really expanding it. So. And
older
the fact
people.
that it's so easy to make money. So you have companies come from nowhere like Rovio, like Zeptolab, who are Russian guys who've done Cut the Rope, which is another awesome game making huge amounts of money. It's just enabled different kinds of development which don't rely on the budgets that EA Sports have to get something live on PlayStation. So you can have very cool experiences based on much smaller budgets, and it's just about having a good idea and then being a little bit lucky whether you can have that level of success. But I think we all know that everyone is trying it. Probably every developer has some kind of app idea which he's working on quietly, and not telling his colleagues at work about. So you know, some of them someday in every company, well, in some companies, that guy's just not going to turn up for work one day because he's going to be flying his jet around. So it's
hello, suckers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my ad. I told you.
So it's a fun time to be around, and I think it's enabled. It just means the whole development of gaming and apps and stuff has made everything much more democratic. You know, anyone can do it because it's a fair playing field.
Yep.
I think that is the joy of iTunes, is that you can't buy success in this game. You can't pay Apple. Yes. You know, you can't pay Apple for you know, exposure on iTunes or something. If it's good, then
it's good.
Then it's good. And Apple is, you know, if you've dealt with I've dealt with Apple on promoting apps and stuff, you know, and they don't care who you are. You know, I represent some pretty big brands and stuff. If your stuff's not good, then they're not going to put it on the homepage. You know, and if you are a little developer, if your stuff is good, then they will promote the hell out of it for you. You know, and that's the cool thing that they're doing at the moment.
What you're thinking? Because you know the leader of the market is still the iPad, but it's very expensive kind of device. There are also other players in this industry. Do you think that the Apple will still have this, you know, first place, or the Android will come from behind and just break this neck?
Well, I think, you know, that the tablet market's, you know, like 2 years behind the smartphone market. So obviously in the early days of smartphones, you know, you saw, well, smartphones 2007, post iPhone. You obviously saw Apple take, you know, a huge lead in their kind of cut through in the market, and that's kind of where tablets are now. You know, the other guys are struggling to keep up, but in the same way that Android, you know, has outstripped, you know, Apple in the you know, in the smartphone penetration, because they do things cheaper, because, you know, Android is open to any developers to get involved in, and manufacturers. That will inevitably happen to tablets. It's not happening yet because there's not really a hero device, I guess, you know, apart from the Amazon tablet, you know, which is pretty good, but it's still not making huge amounts of impact. So iPad has managed to replicate the iPhone's kind of iconic status, and it will be the market leader for the next couple of years, you know, and then Android will come up, you know, probably driven by people like Samsung and stuff. The interesting thing about the tablet situation is how quiet Microsoft is on the whole thing, right? Because you think how Microsoft owns the desktop space.
Exactly.
You know, I would have expected them to have a much stronger kind of offering in this space right now. So that's kind of an interesting thing, which development which is not happening at the moment.
Instagram, success without the business model.
Yeah.
Is it a new bubble, or, you know, just we can expect more of this kind of applications?
Oh, there's going to be hundreds of them. You look at Instagram and Path, and, you know, Draw Something. Well, Draw Something actually kind of makes money, but you look at things like, you know, Instagram and Foursquare and stuff. There's lots of great ideas, you know, which consumers really love, but don't have a business model surrounding them. So, you know, I think there's a lot of VC money flying around at great ideas, you know, which aren't really supported by a 5-year revenue plan to generate value. And so, you know, there's some strange decisions going on, which are very kind of bubble-like. You can kind of see that happening, and you wonder how these things are going to monetize themselves. You know, but ultimately, you know, unless you can start creating some kind of Facebook ad model, then, you know, you start to worry about, you know, where some of this money is going. But for people, you know, in the creative industries, people who are developing social stuff and who have ideas, it's a great time to be around, particularly if you're in Silicon Valley and everyone's looking for the next big thing. I think people have realized that with some of these ideas, you can take them and you can just start multiplying money, you know, if you back the right one.
Yes.
You know, and that's kind of, a lot of developers are getting on the back of that and trying their luck. So it's a pretty cool time, but there's a lot of money is going to go into developers' pockets with no result.
What is the coolest application that you use right now?
The coolest application that I use.
The newest, coolest, we know.
What do I use right now? I mean, I'm actually not the kind of guy who uses like 1,000 apps, but I really do love using Foursquare. I think Foursquare is an awesome thing, and obviously it doesn't have all that.
You check a lot, right? You check here in Poland.
Yeah, of course. You know, it's interesting to see, and you know, to see how people use it differently around the world. So if you go to somewhere like Dubai, right, it's like everyone's using it. You know,
Really?
you go
In Dubai?
yeah, it's really odd. You go and like a train station in Dubai, whatever, will have loads more people checking in than a UK train station, for example. So it's kind of a market where it's really taken off, and I see a whole load of Polish people here using it as well. And I think it brings together kind of obviously your social media, but it brings together location and time into the same thing. And I think that is a really interesting kind of model because it creates stuff around kind of common purpose, like we're all here together. I think that's a really valuable and interesting space to start playing in for a brand. But and I just think it's kind of cool because you can just see what's going on. So I was at Taming the Chaos the other day, and you see basically
everyone.
There's seven. There was, I don't know, a whole bunch of people there on a list that I can see who's there. So I go friend, and then suddenly they all come and talk to me afterwards, after I've been on stage talking about mobile. And so it's a way of connecting with people in real time, which is pretty cool.
So this is the new way to meet people, or this new way of your business card, right?
Yeah.
You're checking with the same time with the same guy and saying, hey, I've been with you on this conference, like of this meeting. So can I talk to you about this? It's very cool. All right, can you show me this thing with the car?
Sure, why not?
It's amazing.
So this is it's a Disney application, and it is super cool. Let me see if it's still up and running. In my kids folder, so all my kids apps live here. So here's a little car.
It's a car from Cars.
And so the effect of it.
I can hold your microphone for you.
Okay, the effect of it is something like this. So let's hold it the right way up to start with. It's basically, imagine this is flat, right? But so the little kid's holding the car, and basically,
and it's interactive with the iPad. Magic happens.
Yeah. And so it's just gone into a little story here. So
cutscene.
Cutscene. So I think we're going to have a little race here.
All right.
2, 1, and then
go. Speed Racer, go!
So basically, this is pretty cool. So so basically you have to kind of race against these other guys from Cars 2. And so this is the kind of thing which obviously every little kid can do. So my little boy is 2.5, and he loves cars. So
daddy.
Daddy. I want to play cars. So this is kind of a really awesome thing. But what's super good about this is that the way it's doing it, it's basically conducting the signal from your fingers straight into through this device. So it's basically pretending that your fingers are on the screen. Hey, there's a bit of a jump there. and you can do there are whole kinds of stories and challenges built into this. And you go and talk to the other cars and stuff.
Amazing.
So this is but if you think about it's kind of traditional in the UK for like cereal boxes to have little toys in, little plastic toys for kids. So maybe in the future we're going to start seeing these given away.
Absolutely.
in cereal boxes. So bringing together different devices and different experiences is something which is going to be pretty cool moving forwards.
Cool. Tim, thank you very much for being with me and my viewers. I hope your stay in Poland was very successful. I hope you made some new friends. To był Tim Dunn z Isobar. Mam nadzieję, że ten odcinek bardzo Wam się przydał do tego, aby popatrzeć na branżę mobilną z trochę innej strony. Mam też nadzieję, że zobaczyliście parę nowych rzeczy, których nie zobaczycie nigdzie indziej. I zapraszam do oglądania naszego kolejnego odcinka. Do zobaczenia.